Hey guys, what's going on? So, video 2 today. Hopefully you watched video 1. If you haven't yet, I'd highly suggest you go watch that first. Everything in terms of video 1's posted. There's a PDF there for you. But today we are going to dive into kind of more nutrition, lifestyle stuff. This I think is a big thing that most athletes, especially basketball players, underestimate. You'd be surprised how many high-level basketball guys actually just don't take care of their bodies, don't take care of their diet. So we're going to run through a few things. There'll be another PDF I'm going to drop you as well. It's going to be called a high performance kind of nutritional point system. It's just to help you track throughout the day. So your food, your stress, calories, protein, vegetables, all these different things. You give yourself a bit of a point system. And at the end of the day, it just helps you stay accountable, helps you stay disciplined and build good habits. So what we're going to do is we're going to start up here. We're going to go through what's called the sturdy house principle. It's just a different way of explaining kind of mental and physical health. Some of you guys might know some of what we're about to go through today, but some of you guys might not. And if you don't, then that's great. And if you pick just one thing out of this video, then I've done my job. So we're going to go through the sturdy house principle. So the idea here is, imagine you've got your house, okay? You've got your 4 walls, and you've got the roof, which is going to represent your mental and physical health. So our 4 walls is obviously supporting the roof, right? It's kind of the structure, it's the integrity of the house. So we've got 1 that's going to represent the food, 1 wall is representing exercise, aka your workouts, 1 that's representing water intake, and 1 that's representing sleep. So super basic concept. The idea is obviously if you have one of these walls, right? So in this case, you have one of these 4 areas that you aren't doing at least, somewhat well. As an example, let's say you eat shit. All you do is eat McDonald's. You don't have much fruit and veg in your diet. Generally speaking, you're always feeling hungry. You're always eating candy. You're always eating chips, whatever. Okay. If that's not doing very well, then it's going to put a lot more stress on making sure your sleep spot on, your water intake spot on, and your workouts are spot on, which means that obviously the structural integrity of the house is suffering a little bit. So now imagine if your food's not great and then you're not sleeping very well either. Well then, ultimately the house is starting to shake. Mental and physical health, something's going to budge. One of them's going to suffer, if not both. So just by taking care of these 4 areas, if we can just do them 80% well, 80% of the time, we're going to probably have a really, really good mental and physical health, which means we're recovering better, which means we're going to get more out of our workouts, which means our results are optimized and everybody's happy. So although that seems super simple, it hopefully is a different way for you to kind of digest it and absorb the info. The other thing we have to look at is the foundation of the house. So in this case, we're going to talk about your environment and just general stress. So environment, we could fit in your work in there. We could fit in, in general what your house looks like. Is it a shithole? Is everything always a mess? Are you always stressed out because of that? Maybe you don't have the best home life. Maybe you're living with other people that are stressing you out. There's a whole bunch of different things that are going to impact you from an environment perspective, from a stress perspective. And if we're always stressed, well then we're probably not going to be sleeping well. We're probably not going to get the most out of our workouts because we don't have as much energy. So all these things play a huge part in the success of our workouts, our program, and optimizing our results. So if you're someone who's overlooking all of this, I'm telling you right now, the best program in the world won't matter. It's not going to cut it, because you need to make sure that this is probably one of your priorities in terms of these 4 walls, especially if you're going to get the most out of anything you do. So that's the number 1 thing I hope you take out of this video is you need to sort your shit out basically, especially from an environment, stress perspective, and then these 4 criterias. That should be 80% of the time really good, and then the other 20% of the time just enjoy life, have fun with friends and family, go out, have a beer, have some takeaways, have some takeout, whatever you want to do. But if you're doing that majority of the time, it's probably not going to go very well for you. So that kind of takes us into more of the calories and supplement side. Today's video is probably going to be pretty short and sweet, guys. Again, don't want to keep you on too long. So we're going to go into calories first. Now, again, probably a massive area most guys just don't do very well in is just understanding how much they're eating. I did a podcast with the head nutritionist of the Atlanta Hawks, Atlanta Braves, She trains Olympian. She's top notch. Girl called Mary Spino. I'll actually put the podcast link in there if you want to listen to it. And a big thing I was asking about NBA guys if they understand how much they're eating, just professional athletes in general. I think she's also she's doing some diet work with the Atlanta Falcons or the NFL team, and she was telling me how most of them just have no idea, right? No idea of their calories, no idea what they should be putting into their bodies, and how to just get the most out of their training, results, etc. So we're gonna keep it super basic. I'll also send you a bit of a calorie calculator if you want to use that. If you haven't used MyFitnessPal before, download that so you can start kind of tracking your calories if you want to do so. It's also going to be on the PDF for the high performance point system, so it'll be one of the questions that it's asking you anyways. But for the most part, we're just going to focus on two things. We're going to focus on calorie deficit and calorie surplus and what you should be kind of looking for in both. Now, if you're not sure what a calorie deficit is, it just means you're eating less calories than your body needs, therefore you're losing weight. And a surplus is the opposite. You're eating more calories than your body needs, therefore you're gaining weight. So depending on your position, how big you are right now, if you think you should be putting some size on or losing weight, again, if you want to get quicker, naturally you probably want to get a little bit leaner. If you're trying to get a bit stronger because you're getting muscled in the post or as a guard, then you're probably going to be in a surplus. Okay, we're going to talk about the different elements of protein, carbs, and fats that I want you to focus on. So we'll start with surplus because it's honestly the easiest thing to really focus on here. If you are trying to put weight on, you're trying to put muscle mass on, the biggest thing you want to focus on is you don't really want to add more than about 1% of your body weight a week. So what I mean by that is, let's say, just for a super simple example, if you weigh 150 pounds, every week you don't really want to be putting more than about 1.5 to 2 pounds. Okay, if you weigh 200 pounds, then it would be 2 pounds a week. So generally speaking, it's 1% of your body weight a week that you want to be putting on max. If we're going on the higher end, if we start putting 2-3% of our weight on every week, one, you're putting too much body fat on. It's going to make your cutting phase a lot longer, which means when you try to get leaner and you try to improve your body composition, it's going to make life difficult. So try not to be too aggressive with how much food you're eating. This is pretty easily tracked just by weighing yourself 2-3 times a week, always in the morning, after you've gone to the washroom, before you've had food. All right, so that's what I would focus on from a surplus perspective. Now, should you be prioritizing protein, carbs, and fat? You want to prioritize all three. It really doesn't matter. When we're trying to gain weight, we're just trying to get calories in. If you're having a balanced diet, you're generally having some good food, protein, you're having some veg, you're having some fruit. It doesn't really matter. This is where, if anything, I would recommend you have that extra chocolate bar, those bags of chips, or you're going to McDonald's from time to time because you need the calories. And some people, it just takes a little bit longer for them to add that weight. Now, completely different story from a protein, carbs, and fat perspective when we get into a deficit. Now, again, guys, this is looking at the off season. In season, we're probably always going to want to prioritize our carb intake and our protein intake, okay? Carbs because we need it for performance, but generally speaking, in the off season, we're going to get enough if we're eating enough. So if we're looking at things now from a deficit, so we're trying to lose weight, we're trying to get leaner, we're trying to get that six pack, trying to see our abs, protein is going to be one of the biggest priorities here, okay? Anytime you're trying to lose weight, you need to ramp up your protein. So I want you to aim for anywhere between 2 to 3 grams per kilo. Okay, so I know you probably can't see that very well because the marker is just not working, right? But 2 to 3 grams, okay, per kilo is what we're going to focus on protein. That might seem like a lot of protein, but the more you can eat while you're trying to lose weight, the more you're going to retain that muscle mass that hopefully you've worked super hard for, okay? From a carb perspective and a fat perspective, this is very individual. I'd say most people probably want to keep their carbs, generally speaking, around the same amount. You can start cutting that maybe a little bit. But if you start cutting your carbs too low, you're going to find that you're going to start feeling quite low in energy. You might not have the energy for your workouts. And one of the biggest things we need to do when we're trying to lose weight is obviously eat protein, but also make sure that the intensity of our workouts are always high, because that's how you're going to preserve your muscle mass, all right? So I would say prioritize this in a deficit. Probably keep this relatively similar. You're probably gonna have to drop your portion size a bit. And then similar to your surplus, you're not wanting to go in a surplus higher than 1% of your body weight a week. And for your deficit, you don't want to lose more than 1% of your body weight a week. So if you're losing more than, let's say again, as an example, you don't weigh 100 pounds, but let's say if you weighed 100 pounds, if you're losing more than 1 pound a week, that's probably too much. It means that you're going to be losing body fat and you're going to be losing muscle mass too. So obviously the goal in a deficit is maintain the muscle mass, keep your workouts high intensity. In a surplus is obviously we're just trying to gain weight. So as long as your workouts are good, you're eating enough, that's a priority. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, you can always just drop them in the group. And then from a supplement side, I've just written down a few things that I tend to hear quite often. And we're just going to talk about which ones you should prioritize and which ones I recommend for my athletes. So number one, we have protein. Now, obviously, protein is a go-to, okay? If you don't find you're getting enough protein in your diet through just regular food, you gotta remember, guys, regular food is always gonna be king when it comes to everything we do. Protein supplement, whey protein, add it in if you really find it difficult to eat too much. It's not gonna hurt, right? But I would definitely recommend that's one. Multivitamin, 100%. If you're not eating much fruit and veg, again, if your diet isn't varied, if you're not making a conscious effort, it's just an easy one for you to add into your routine. You can take it in the morning, at night, before you go to bed, doesn't matter. Collagen, this is another one I'd recommend, especially before your lower body days. You can get some like collagen and vitamin C. So there's some pretty cool studies that show that if you take collagen and vitamin C about 15 minutes before your workout, you actually tend to get like an influx of collagen in the muscles and the ligaments and the tendons where you're kind of working. So this is particularly good for like guys who probably had ankles and knee problems in the past. That's the one I would focus on. Fish oils, hit or miss. You can kind of take this if you want. There's a bit of like mixed reviews on if it's beneficial or not. It's not going to hurt you, but if you're having a good amount of fish in your diet anyways, you probably don't need to worry about this one. BCAAs is one I wouldn't spend my money on, right? There's not a whole bunch of research behind it that proves that it's super effective. You're also just wasting your money. If you're getting enough protein in your diet, you're getting all your branched chain amino acids anyways. And then the last but not least, creatine, 100%. If you're not taking creatine, probably going to be the biggest bang for your buck, most important supplement out of this whole list. Just because it's going to improve your power output and your strength output. So if you're more powerful, you're stronger, means you're probably going to be moving more weight. If you're moving more weight, you're getting bigger muscles. Bigger muscles are stronger muscles are bigger muscles. So out of everything here, if I was to prioritize one, creatine would be the winner. All right, makes sense? So hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, 10-15 minute videos. Sturdy house principle, don't underestimate it. Super, super important. Surplus, deficit, understand the difference. Why you just want to focus on general food in a surplus. Why you need to focus on protein intake and general workout intensity when you're trying to lose weight. Always remember, you don't want to gain more than 1% or lose more than 1% depending on what your goal is. And then from a supplement perspective, protein, multivitamin, collagen on lower body days, and then creatine at all times. So hopefully that makes sense. I'll post the PDF in the group. And as always, guys, thanks for showing up. Thanks for watching it afterwards. Any questions, give me a shout. Peace.